As I'm sure that y'all found with that wonderful intro by the great alchemist, Meet the Grams beat, now as it's colloquially known. Um, we're into some deep shit here at this point. Speaking of deep shit, I'm recording this on Sunday, which means there's a new episode coming out in fucking 6 hours. So go ahead and get this edited. We definitely intend on putting this out sooner next time, but I was out of town on a Sunday and Monday, so I didn't get a chance to really turn around this until I guess now really. We got 30 four takeaways. I had 50 written down. I kind of cut down some of the fat. Very thick episode. I believe this is about an hour or so of actual content. Always get skimmed in the last like 10 minutes of these. Because I was like, okay, it's an hour and 15, but really it's like an hour. And then you got like about 3 minutes of the intro. So, you know, do the math there, I guess. But I was actually on pace for like a takeaway per like minute up until about the time Damon storms off to what appears to be Harrenhal. So, kind of slow down the pace after that a little bit. But still, like the back half is just as plentiful as the first half. Really, this episode, incredible overall episode. Somebody said this was as the past season 5 through 8 type writing from Game of Thrones. I thought it passed that last season. Like, I thought last season was well written, and so far this season is also very well written. I think it may even raise the bar. Word to I'm not going to say that, but I think it raised the bar honestly. So we got our takeaways here, and I guess we'll just get right into them. I'm gonna try to make this quicker. I know I've been going for 2 minutes now, but I'm trying to make this quicker in terms of the read on these takeaways, so I can get it out. And I have 34. I want to do it in one video, so if you want more depth of these, just let me know. And I guess I can expound on them if I need to later on. They showed Laris's talk with Aegon in the recap, big moment. So that was Laris's talk with Aegon about Otto not being a good Hand of the King. And as we kind of see the back half of this episode, it was a big moment. I choose to think that anything they show in the recap is a pretty major moment. Some people may just think it's just there to be there. It's just a synopsis of the previous. Generally, it's like almost a forewarning sense as well. Like if somebody has a moment in the recap, Game of Thrones or Hand of the Dragon, House of the Dragon, it usually matters in terms of the future of the series, whether it be the immediate future, as that Laris' talk ended up being, or will the people rebel? Again, recap moment. Iron costs have gone up, so again we start seeing some of the strife from the small folk in this episode. As I said, a very recurring theme in this episode: small folk strife, small folk impatience, small folk fear. And so that scene was also another forewarning moment. So we kind of get to the actual episode here. Aegon off that perk 30, and I put in parentheses, didn't think he cared about the kid that much. So I don't think he cares about the kid that much, honestly. Like Jaehaerys is not Jaehaerys. Aegon is not like Joffrey in that he's just a sinister human being that just is basically like Kid Boo, devoid of emotion. But we have not seen a high level of compassion or empathy, feelings for others out of Aegon to this point. So I was a little bit shocked to see him go that crazy, but really, as we kind of see more dialogue, I can kind of tell it's more so reflective of how uh, little he's being viewed as a real strong human being, like or leader more than just a human being. He's viewed as weak, and that is what unnerves him about this moment. That somebody came in, just took his kid, ate his kid's head off, and just kept moving. Otto was in his pocket. Then I put in a sub point. Dude is needed in every room. John Stockton. So you can say what you want about Otto being a scheming master manipulator that will double cross anybody to kind of progress his claim to the throne. I would say just about every leadership that's ever been needs him. Some other leaderships have had a Littlefinger who will basically fuck over anybody in charge to get his advances. I don't think Otto is that. I think Otto's a little bit more pulled back. Maybe because he's a little bit, or really probably a lot older canonically than Littlefinger was. So he doesn't see himself as needing to be on the throne. He just needs to see people that he has control over being there. I think Littlefinger had ambitions to really be basically on the throne, more or less. I think Otto was one step down in terms of that. I think he would have been very content if there was a controllable force, not Aegon on the throne. But either way, I think he carried a lot of what was happening in that conversation. Speaking of what to do next after what's his name, Jaehaerys got his head cut off. So I thought he just had some real presence there. Allison would fit in with the blacks, emotional, consistently wears her heart on her sleeves, etc. So basically, Allison, you really get to see in episodes like these where shit things happen on both sides, how similar Allison and Rhaenyra are as just like fundamental human beings, like how they react to certain things, um, how stress affects them, stuff like that. Like they're on the most base level, and they've been displayed as this for a while. Very similar people. The further they've gotten away from each other, like both in distance and in terms of how much they like each other, you can honestly see more how much they share. That's something that I've found out. So, Aegon has. Oh yeah, I was gonna say also the reason why she fits in the black specifically is because they are more compassionate for the most part, more loving human beings, while the greens are more cold and calculated. I think sometimes. So yeah, Aegon has a cannon. I don't have to go into this too much, but the way he tossed that fucking cup, I don't like how Aegon looked at the black guy. You know, just I don't like that. I didn't love a classic dissension angle. I believe it's the last. No, it's the second last point from the little round table. Just speaking to like the potential of the council turning on Aegon. When they take the moment to kind of scan the room and go through every person's like facial expression on the council to be like, yeah, you know, I guess it could be anybody, but it really doesn't matter for us to think about this right now, does it? But just setting up some, you know, some future treachery. And Aegon's actor is killing this role. I know some people didn't like his actor for various reasons. One, because he was smaller than Aemond. He was more innocent looking in the face. But really, man, in terms of playing an impish, impudent kid, well, a guy that like basically mentally is a kid, they got like you know hauled up to the big leagues, even though he didn't deserve it. Like he's killing that role so far. I think so. He showed really good range of emotion in this episode. Really, the Helena Allison convo in the castle reminds me that Naivete, between Rhaenyra not wanting to do her role and Allison being a soldier. So basically, I don't know why I'm reading these verbatim, but so Helena's talk with Allison right after the small council meeting. It was Helena being, you know, obviously Helena is like developmentally um, very blissful, very innocent, very young. Like just as a, she's an adult woman physically, but mentally just not. Allison, her conversation with her reminded me a lot of after Otto basically married her off to the king, and Rhaenyra being like, "Why the fuck are you doing this?" Or you know, and then later like, "Why the fuck do I have to marry these terrible people?" And then Allison's POV was always uh, very throne protective from the perspective of the throne, the perspective of duty, shit like that. And those themes just kind of reflected in this chat they had. Blood looks like Samuel Tarley, and then at some point, bro snitched before he got the meal. So basically, I thought he looked like kind of Samuel, like with the beard cut off, and the hair, like no hair, like a buzz cut. It kind of looked like Samuel there. Also, yeah, he ratted immediately, and all he got for it was a fucking mace. I guess maybe that was the solution, or not the solution, but the good grace there was that instead of torturing, they had a bunch of shit to torture him with. He snitched immediately, and they just fucking killed him. So getting hit with a mace, god damn, that's gotta be a tough. A mace, like if you've never seen a mace before, it's just straight fucking steel, compact as fuck, like a blunt force trauma to the fucking head. Um, if he got hit in the temple, it probably killed him on impact, but if it didn't, that's oof. They sewed Jaehaerys' back on head back on for the whole you know kind of display down the street. And they did an open casket type thing. I don't know if this was done for TV or anything. You know, I don't know, but I felt like it back in my head. Like Game of Thrones, the original one would have like just had him being headless, but I don't think they would have had him be headless. Like I always think about that shit because like everybody thinks like how would Game of Thrones do this versus House of Dragon, which obviously Game of Thrones came out in an entirely different climate of the society. They had more wiggle room to be a little bit more flagrant. But I always ask like, what would House of the Dragon do if they had that level of freedom? because obviously set scenes, nudity, very vicious forms of violence, like that's not as in vogue now as it was even 10 years ago. So I always ask that question. Also, I don't know what the book did there. People say the book has been a lot more detailed in some of these moments. So I wonder what the book did. Obviously, Otto wanted to have the kid be headless completely. So I also thought maybe it was a compromise between the way he wanted to do it, and then obviously the way that the decency that I believe Allison and Aegon want in this moment. So the tension during the time the carriage stopped, I thought that was one of the best shot scenes I've seen in Game of Thrones. Panic attacks are sometimes very poorly done in media, but Helena, who's a very emotional person, we've been seeing her emotion bud up like the last few moments previous to this. So we know she's a very disconnected person, very to herself, blah blah blah. Allison forced her to be there in that moment for the the duty or whatever, and we just see the score bud up. We see the tension. We're trying to get the carriage back going. We see the people reaching out to her and just overloading her senses between seeing. She sees the particles, stares at the little grace or whatever that people throw down onto her wagon. We see the sound brought up, people speaking louder and louder, yelling, and then her feel like all of her senses become overwhelmed, which telltale signs of a panic attack, I think. So that moment was just incredible, and her literally trying to like struggle and get away, and Allison trying to hold her back. And then I liked Allison's perspective there too. It wasn't the primary perspective in that scene, but I liked how she kind of saw things play out as well. Yeah, every scene with Rhaenyra, Daemon, and Rhaenys is a gift. It's just amazing because like Rhaenyra is always like a step behind in terms of like Daemon's being a fuck nigga. Uh, and Rhaenys is always like ahead of time, but Rhaenys is third in the Targaryen billing in this situation, if not lower, but at least third. But she's powerless to like really stop him from being a fuck nigga. And Damon's just like, at least at this point, I feel like he's been impervious and able to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. So just seeing these three people like always have their dynamics, it's just a fun time. I feel like. What's that Gambino lyric? I'm gonna insert the lyric right here, but this is in reference to the standoff between Rhaenyra and Daemon. I'm gonna insert it right here.
She jerked when I moved like her old boy Pablo.
Rhaenyra got the worst bodies. So she got Christian Cole, she got Harwin Strong, and then she got Daemon. I call that a little three. Not the big three, a little three. That's bad bodies to have, bro. The Blacks are the Western Conference. So I'm not gonna give a whole NBA analysis here, but if you ever watched the NBA, in our lifetimes at least, the Western Conference has always been far, far more stacked than the Eastern Conference, and the level of talent in the Western Conference has always been higher. Partially because of the sports markets in the Western Conference, and partially because the franchises just ran better. They just can attract more talent. The Eastern Conference always felt like kind of JV for the most part. And that's how I felt watching the Blacks interact versus the Greens. Not saying the Greens don't have tons of entertaining people, but the Blacks, I mean, it's just stacked. Like, I mean, even you go down to like the inner rotation, people like Bela and Jacaerys, like, even those two have had some pretty great moments at this point. I think I don't know, man. I think I like their rotation a little bit better. The Blacks, the top level, like the Rhaenyra, Daemon, I mean even Sea Snake, which I think I have a Sea Snake point coming up here. They got some good dudes. They got some good dudes. I don't know. It's tough though. It's not as much as a blowout as like some of the Eastern versus Western discussions, but I think they got a good lead. Damon about to get busy. When you see Damon storm off, usually some shit's about to happen. Cold World is a perma sad sack. His fucking face with that puppy dog bullshit he gives you, and like you don't feel bad for him ever because 5 minutes after he gives you that look, he's gonna do some fucking terrible stuff to the entire realm, like just horrible things to the entirety of the sanctity of the realm. They just like, nah, I don't even give a fuck about it. You can be sad, dude. Fuck you. Where did Rhaenyra get 3 more kids? She's got 4 living kids now at this point. She's popped out 3 more. I think she had one. She had one that was being held up by Jaceres in the last episode. So she popped out two more, I guess. After that, I don't know, dude. She got four kids now, and they're all Targaryen, so they're all with Daemon, obviously. So her and Daemon have had. She was pregnant one time with that fucking thing that popped out that was just disgusting to look at. So she's had at least four with him, I believe. So, and I don't know. I know they have more in the book that get cut out all the time, so I don't know. But there's another one, De'Aaron, who is, I think, Rhaenyra was staring at particles just like Helena. I thought it was interesting because I made a comparison. I don't know if I wrote it here, but I made a comparison that Rhaenyra feels very similar at times to Helena. I made the comparison between Helena's talk with Allison, but also Rhaenyra has like kind of this moment when it's being recapped to her what happened last episode. She's like, "What? Why would I hurt Helena of all people? Me? Why would I hurt Helena at all people?" And she was dead serious. Like she was like, "Why the fuck would people believe that shit?" And that kind of moment just made me think like she's still like young Rhaenyra at heart, and that's young Rhaenyra is very like Helena in a way. We all been there, Cole. So this is the moment where like Cole and Allison are like on both sides of the door. Heavy sexual tension, almost like challengers like tension between the two. Challengers is a good movie, by the way. You should go watch it if you haven't. And they both clearly want something in this moment, but because of the recency of their actions, the previous to this, by the way, you see Cole looking at the bed and the kid that was killed. And I think in some like for a second he blames himself for not being on guard. He was fucking Allison instead. So that leads up to this moment where she's like, "Oh my god, well we shouldn't fuck again." So Allison is kind of used to like a certain hand on her body, that hand being Cole. She goes into the tub, and I put here at some point. No one called Allison going under the tub a perfect blue reference, thankfully. A lot of people, anytime somebody has a moment under the tub, this happened in Requiem for a Dream, which is a very fucked movie. You haven't watched it, but anytime someone goes under a tub depressed as fuck, or about to scream, whatever, just angsty moment, people usually harken back to Perfect Blue, which I think did that moment first. I think, but nobody, I saw nobody on Twitter that called it that. So I'm the first person to compare that moment Perfect Blue. So I'll take that. And then we get to, like I said, Cole always gonna snap eventually. Cole sees the bed, he can't fuck, all of this shit happens. So the first person he sees that he can blame is Sir Eric with an A, and wait, Sir Eric with an E. The one that the green Eric, we'll call him that, the green Eric. He sees him, just lays into him, basically throws like everything that he kind of felt about himself into Eric in a certain sense, and he ends up going from like really saying some very derogatory things towards Eric as a knight to then leading that into, but you can cleanse yourself of all of this shit if you just go kill Rhaenyra right now. So Eric, who I think is also feeling some grief about his decision to abandon his brother, because remember they were both there at well no, they were both in um the Red Keep when they decided to make their decision. Like one's gonna go to Dragonstone and one's gonna stay. Um, so I think he kind of feels bad for like letting his brother kind of go to a certain degree, but he felt obviously more strongly about the throne, protecting the throne than that. So anyway, Cole both shits on Eric and gaslights him into going to kill Rhaenyra. So this moment, Jaceres' talk with Bela, I believe. And I just liked, the only thing I really have noted here is that I like that he's open about Harwin Strong. The Harwin Strong allegation from his, I guess, uncle was a moment that he very much so despised in the last season. So Harwin Strong is not something you can talk about a certain degree. I think he kind of is cognizant that he has like almost two fathers in a sense, but not really any father at all. And we go from there to talking about his uncle, Aemond. So we get into the brothel where Aemond's a fucking shell of a human being, basically. Literally, like as a frame, like he's damn near a skeleton, really. But mentally, he's just like he never really got to age as a human being correctly. We kind of just see with some of his, this is like, I think the most flagrant depiction of some of the kind of under, not really spoken about parts of his personality in the previous season. And now to see that kind of bared out. Like this is a very troubled human being that always felt like he was lesser than, both as a Targaryen and as a warrior human being, a compassionate human being. I think he wanted to be more than just a fucking killing machine, but just the way things played out, that was his reaction, that was his ability, that's all he had to stand out. And you know, so we kind of see with this madam person that's basically his an effort, like in essence, his mother. Really, I think that's kind of the role she plays for him. So my sub points for this. I'm tired of seeing that fucking diamond in his eye socket. It just disturbs me to see that. He has a raw ass like diamond or whatever, some gem in his fucking eye. Just leave it closed or something like that. I'm tired of seeing that shit. His face just I don't like it. Allison has raised some terrible fucking people. It just harkens back to Meet the Grahams and the Kendrick Bar to Dennis Graham. You've raised some. You raised a horrible fucking. What was it? A horrible fucking person.
You raised a horrible fucking person. The nerve of you.
All of her kids. I wouldn't say Helena's horrible, but like clearly some mentally deranged individuals. And we need to aim and think piece. We need to aim and think piece because this is a person that has probably displayed every single like disorder you could probably display. 22 minutes. We got about 10 points left, about 9 give or take. Love to see a Discord moment with Hugh and his fam. So I spoke about it earlier. The small folk and this episode putting more of an emphasis on showing them and their Discord. And keep in mind the way that the Annals of Time speak about this period of time is that the Targaryens are mad at people, terrible people, horrible people. That did nothing really good and were just horrible fucking people. And I know I just said the same thing like 5 different times, but keep along with me. The people who are going to write history are typically going to be the high level maesters or the town people. The town people, their stories really spread amongst themselves, while the maesters' repetition, what they put out there, it kind of has a little bit more echo with the general realms, right? Now, both tales can be misconstrued, overdone, not accurate. But I tend to think that the town people have their own kind of rendition of how these events go. And as you can kind of tell, the town people are not very happy. Hugh, who I wrote down Hugh, just his name as a bullet point in the previous episode. Hugh is one of our faces of townfolk discourse so far. And he actually is a little bit more trusting of the king than his wife is. But I love small folk moments. I love small point here. Sea Snake is a freak bull. Some of his yeah, whenever you see a black man and a white woman, just know like the sexual dialogue is probably like freaky in one way or the other. And that's a real life statement. It's not like this. That's a real life statement. Anyway, um Mysaria flipped a switch in Rhaenyra. So basically they have a little dialogue, and Mysaria, who is clearly a very interesting person when it comes to speaking. She's very cunning. For someone who's not trained at all or educated, she just hears things and she learns on the job, basically. For somebody like that, she's kind of like Rose in the first series. For someone like that, she's very cunning. She can easily tell both physical and mental disturbances amongst people, and can clearly pick up on that shit pretty quickly, as we've seen. She says the right words. Basically, Rhaenyra gives her like an opening to dig in when she kind of mentions like Daemon not being there, and she kind of just digs in. It's like, hey, I think Daemon's a fucking terrible person too, and we're supposed to be married. Now you remember me, and the house promised me I can get the hell out of here. So she kind of just in a very quick fashion like flips the entire kind of angle onto Rhaenyra and also kind of baits Rhaenyra into getting her freedom. So I also put as a side point. She may also be Cat Williams. Collective Confidences. That piece, like the Collective Confidences little bit, was very similar to Cat's just kind of description to Shannon Sharp about, I hear a lot of things, I collect secrets and all that shit. So shout out Cat Williams. So yeah, I'm just gonna also add that the rat catchers moment, like getting that perspective from the small folk themselves, from a mother, from a normal small folk person. The other guy that was talking to the mother, I don't know who he was, but you guys know the guy there. I think they're doing a good job of showing the POV from the other people, not just from the big baddies and all these dudes, the Targaryens and the High Towers. And I think it's important to show the perspective from the small folk too. So I appreciate that they do that, and it just kind of continues building up that level of aggression, that level of trepidation, and the RP cheese. At the moment, I actually didn't know that was cheese at first, but when I saw the dog, I was like, okay, that's gotta be cheese. So they caught cheese as well. So I'm assuming they caught all the rat catchers and just deleted all of those guys. So this is now going to almost like the penultimate scene. Aegon, Otto, and Cole. The way that Cole or Otto turned around, looked at Cole, the way Otto turned around, looked at Cole, and he was like, "So what did Sir Christian Cole do?" And Aegon just like boasts his chest and like, "Yeah, you sent fucking Sir Ear to go kill her in there." And Cole was just like, or not Cole, but Otto. He's just like, "You dumb motherfuckers." So Otto again, Otto overplayed his hand definitely. Otto kind of came in there with the idea like this is my like he's always looked at these people like his spawn. Like he never looked at them as like this is the king. I have to have a certain level of air when I talk to him or address him. And I think he finally overplayed his hand in that respect because at this point Aegon has just felt like, oh, you've been disrespecting me for a while, dude. You've been treating me like a fucking imp, idiot, and I'm done with it. No more. No more being treated like an idiot. I'm finished with that shit. So fuck you. And we're gonna give it to Cole. We're gonna give it a position to Cole, not Laris, who is who I would have expected to kind of take that mantle, but he gives it to Cole instead. And he says he wants a hand that is of steel and bone and brute might, not of ink. He doesn't want ink spirit. He wants blood. So we've like I said, Aegon, the actor's done a great job displaying how much of an impudent, ignorant human being this guy is. Very short sighted, and in this moment we get a blinding light of who this person is and how bad they're gonna eventually fuck up. I'm very interested to see. I don't have this written down, but I'm very interested to see how this plays along with Laris, who had his own separate ascension to the throne coming up, or not to the throne, but at least at the hand of the king spot. And I thought Otto was out of here after he kind of walked out. He goes to talk to Allison. He has like this kind of emotional, like kind of debriefing of kind of how he's felt this whole time and how he feels about his daughter's kids situation. And he has a send off, and he even says like, Allison's like, I want to tell you about the sin I committed. He's like, I don't want to hear about it. So she walks out kind of crying a little bit. And he's just like, he just kind of like puts his hand up. We had some time left, and I was like, Otto's getting killed by Laris, because Laris was beaming, I fucking Otto for a while. Pause. I thought that was going to be a wrap for our guy Otto. So Otto survived this episode somehow, and he would be going back to. This is what I was thinking about. He's going to the Tyrell's high tower, high garden, and it's a De'Aaron who is Allison's other kid. I thought it's for Rhaenyra, but it's for Allison. De'Aaron is her other kid, and apparently he's a more controllable kid. I don't know if he's with um Viserys. I think he might be a kid with somebody else. But either way, he's a kid that is a kid of Allison's that is more controllable. So that's gonna be interesting to see where De'Aaron sticks into this. But I guess Otto's gonna at least survive until we get to talk to De'Aaron, I guess, probably. And then this is kind of the battle scene. My only takeaway is I thought Eric won. Eric as in like the good one, the black one. I don't mean good equals black. I just mean one is good and one's kind of evil situation. One is trying to slay a mother, and one is trying to defend the said mother. Um, so I thought the bad one won actually, and the good one won, from what I can tell, the black one, because the way I tracked it was the bad one like cut his brother's leg and used that cheap maneuver to get over, but that guy, the one who had his leg fucked up, was the one who got killed. So I'm guessing that I don't know. I still don't know. I probably should look that up after this episode. I didn't. I don't know why I didn't, but I will say they shot some amazing scenes with. They shot one amazing scene specifically with those two because there's one where so you thought that Eric, the bad one, saw his brother walk by, and he is like hit him behind a pillar, which is like some cartoon ass shit. He's hidden behind a pillar. He sees his brother walk by. He just goes on the opposite side of the pillar just as his brother is walking by. And he thought he got away with it just doing that. His brother like takes a moment to kind of look back at him. You know, he doesn't see him. He just looks back and like he's like has a suspect moment. So we're like, okay, he's good. Like he evaded his brother. Like he can go be the stand-in and do his job and kill Rhaenyra, no problem. But this next moment between the two is just like it mind fucked me. It's like some Inception shit. So we see Bad Eric walk to go replace Lauren as the stand-in to guard Rhaenyra, get to kill easy money. But when he walks by, we see the good one standing right under a wall watching his brother walk by. Initially, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Initially, I thought it was a thing where, again, the good one was just happened to be walking, the bad one was, again, parked, waiting for him to walk by. But in seeing the events play out as they did, it was clear that the bad one walked by, and the good one was just standing there watching him walk by, and his suspicions were confirmed. Now, the problem with that is that he took way too fucking long with this dramatic effect because basically we have the bad one walk into Rhaenyra's keep unimpeded basically because Lauren is gone obviously, and he could just easily just ran in, just stabbed a motherfucker, and just kill Rhaenyra right then and there. He just decided to take a slow walk and kind of get his like piece off, like pull his sword out, start walking real quick, um, menacing as fuck. When he could just run over there and just that would have been just GG. He waited like up until basically like I'd say probably about maybe like 4 feet of distance between Rhaenyra and Bad One, and Good One comes in. He's like, "Brother, don't do this shit." So very interesting dramatic effect that he kind of played there. Uh, he also needed his brother to like pause for the distraction. Because if he didn't, if he just said like I don't give a fuck and just came in and stabbed him anyway, like there's so many avenues of this that it's just interesting, but a little bit confusing. When you have twins, it happens, it's and they play into the twins. They made it intentionally confusing. They made it to where you had to sit there and think like, who just walked by? Like they made it like that. So I give them points for doing that intentionally. If it was like just bad uh incomprehensible moments, I wouldn't give them points, but like they clearly like shot that a certain way. So I may actually watch the post credits on episode 2 after I finish watching episode 3, which comes up tonight, and just kind of see like what points the showrunners had about that scene. But that's it for me. 35 minutes. I'm gonna try to edit this down to at least 30. Not gonna happen probably, but I'll try my best. I'll do my best.